Hey Planet Poke people, it's me, Diogen Z, and it's time for Pokemon of the Week. This week we're going to head back into the 5th generation to check out a grass poison type that has one of the best names, in my opinion, of this current generation. And that is Amoonguss! The reason I think that its name is so funny is because the pun that its entire evolution chain implies. Its first evolution, or I should say its base form, is Fungus, then eventually evolves into Amoonguss. There's Fungus Amoonguss, peoples! And they have some spectacular abilities, but only in the dream world. This set for today is very 5th gen oriented, obviously, it's a 5th gen Pokemon, but Regenerator, a 5th gen ability, is only accessible through the dream world. Thankfully it is available, so all you have to do is search around for a Fungus that would like to have fun with your EV training, and how it will work is by maxing out its effort values and hit points, because as you can see its greatest stat is that it's a beefcake in health, something of a Snorlax of the 5th gen if you will, because it's got so much health to spare that you can really stall out your opponents. I've got 3 sets to show you on this one Pokemon today, so stick with me. If you're not a defensive player, trust me, there's some offensive sets coming in the few moments later on. But I would like to split the remaining 252 max out on usually one stat that you could do, split that up with the additional 6 extra leftovers of EVs that we normally have on these sets, and split them evenly between defense and special defense. Now, of course, if you calculate it all out, it's 32 point something increase, so round that down to 32, and that's the amount of increase you're going to get on that defense and special defense stat. Now, with this set, it's important for stalling, so you want to utilize every aspect that it has to keep regenerating health, keep regaining health. So Ingrain is a valuable move to have. Now I am going to go back to talk about the ability and why it's so amazing that this set has it, this Pokemon has the potential to find it in Dream World, but let me just mention something about this set. It's a very shaky set as it stands right now. The main 4 moves that I chose here, very experimental. I haven't gotten a chance to test them out, obviously, because it's just a time issue. But it's very experimental, and I could see this set being bricked easily, so you might want to have an offensive move, something that doesn't require your Pokemon to be asleep. The idea with this set is that you'll toxify whoever comes onto the field first. Then, when they deal damage, you'll go do Substitute, head into a rest, and then you Snore to keep waging damage on them, even though you've invested nothing in special attack or regular attack, regular physical attack. It will be something to counteract Taunt. The problem is, you'll note that Amoonguss's speed is 30. So most everything, unless you have a Trick Room enabled, most everything is going to outrun this poke. And if they see it on the field, they're most likely going to anticipate that with its heavy HP stats, it's going to be somewhat of a walling supporter, and it won't be doing much physical attacking contact damage to their team. So that may get them to initiate Taunt before you have any chance to do Rest. And the leading up moves that you should have been doing, like Toxic, might not even work on Steel and Poison types. In fact, they definitely won't work, but you can't always be assured that you won't see those 2 types in the battlefield. So this set, I will say, is frankly quite shitty. But I do implore you to go check out the Amoonguss set, or the Amoonguss Pokedex entry on Cerebi, and see sort of what I was dealing with here, because there isn't a whole lot of supporting moves for Amoonguss. Now, the best move to have on it, of course, is Spore, because it's a 100% chance of sleep. But with there being so many sleep clauses in a lot of the metagame, I just decided to keep that as an additional move, just as you could have Double Team on this set. Rarely do I see anyone use Double Team unless they're Haxors, because it's just such a cheap way to tilt the scales on your favor that if you can do a couple of subs and then do enough double teams, the match, it's just not going to go anywhere, and you'll automatically win because nobody can hit you. So I understand why that move is banned. But if you don't have Sleep Claws, you'll want Spore. Ingrain is most likely a better solution to the rehealing of HP. You'll see that I have Life Orb or Leftovers as an option for the item, and if you look at the more sensible set, not the silly experimental one I thought up at 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday, you'll see that Ingrain makes more sense with Leftovers because that's a consistent double 1-up on health each turn. Life Orb, however, was meant to boost Snore's power. Since you did not invest any EVs in attack or special attack, I thought that maybe a Life Orb would be an advantage since you can always rest it off again. But like I said, the first set that looks like it's the one I chose, it's pretty shitty. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty shitty. So you're gonna want something like a Giga Drain. This way, if your opponent forces you into attacking, they're still forcing you into absorbing more health into your Amoonguss. The way that this set is really meant to work is to be health hoarding. And that's why I want to go talk about the Regenerator ability, which I just briefly buzzed over before, saying that it is accessible in Dream World. Well, what does it even do? Here's the cool thing. It restores 33.3% of Amoonguss's overall health upon switch. So if a situation gets kind of hairy, and fire Pokemon, ice or flying, psychic are looking too scary, it's time to switch out, for sure. And not only will you have to worry, or not only rather will you have to think in terms of what Pokemon am I going to switch out next, you can also be glad and kind of breathe a sigh of relief to know that any damage it sustained on the field previous to that weakness coming out is going to be restored somewhat upon the switch. I know a lot of people get sort of a neuroses around switching their Pokemon out. They just don't want to do it. They think it's a poor strategy. They think fight till the very bitter end, but no. Trust me, switching is a very true strategy, and it's necessary in the metagame for you to have a masterful match, or at least for any sort of win streak that you want. But you need to switch, and you need to do it smart. Some people like to do the Volt Switch, some people do U-turn and Baton Pass to transfer stats. With this Amoonguss, you could do a regular switch and still get an advantage, some sort of perk, from its Regenerator ability, which activates every time it switches. It's a good way to quickly reheal all of Amoonguss's, well not all, but a good chunk of Amoonguss's health too, just in case the Ingrain and Leftovers isn't cutting it for you. But overall, across the match, it should be regaining you health points slowly, but this is the defensive wall of Amoonguss, the one that's meant to stall out your opponents. That's why when I make this set, I want to include kind of every single move as far as disruptors and supporting moves that I can. That's why I show Spore, Stun Spore, and Toxic. It's really up to you and your team preferences which one you want to use. Toxic is dangerous in that, you know, there are poisons and steel types to resist it, but most of the other Pokemon can be affected greatly by Toxic, and once you toxify your enemy, it's easy to stall them out with Substitute, Ingrain, and Leftovers, plus perhaps a Giga Drain instead of Rest and Snore, which is very shaky to use in practice, although interesting in theory. Do tell me if anyone uses that rather shitty set, and tell me if it has any success rate, because I'm quite frankly curious. This next set is for those of you who rather play offensively than defensively. And the nice thing about Amoonguss is that its attack and special attack are balanced at 85, so that's where you can see the third set coming in. It's going to be an adamant physical attacking set, and does pretty well in practice too. I like the special set though a little bit better than the physical one due to hidden power, and you can see with it being rock, you cancel out 3 of the very destructive weaknesses it has: fire, ice, and flying. Something I also want to note about the ability, other than Regenerator, I still think Regenerator is probably the best ability to use on all 3 of the sets, because whether you're going offensive or defensive, regaining health points upon a switch can be really vital, and you can use it wisely in your strategy overall. But it also can know Effect Spore, and that's normally what you'll find Amoonguss and Foonguss out in the wild having that aren't found in the dream world. And what it does is give your opponent a 10% risk on physical attack, meaning that when they hit your Amoonguss with, say, a simple tackle, there's a 10% chance that they'll be paralyzed, poisoned, or put to sleep. And that's wonderful. But I would not rely on that for the overall effectiveness of these three sets. The reason being is 10%, as you know, is a very, very low percent. And Regenerator, every time, without fail, every switch regains health. So which would you rather have? Would you want health on each turn you switch, or would you like a very, very low chance, sorta effective, sorta not, especially if you've already poisoned the foe? That's why I didn't even mention it on the defensive set, because with that, you're already ideally trying to use Toxic before anything else. So Effect Spore would be pointless. It's not going to double poison them. It's not going to give poison/paralysis. It's just going to cancel that out and make the effect of the ability completely useless. So that's why I never included the ability in these sets, but I do want you to know it exists just in case you want to maybe mix up the set a little bit, throw in some versatility there. Other than Hidden Power Rock being perfect for combating those three weaknesses, unfortunately Psychic is going to have to be something you switch out on, but with Regenerator, your switch won't be wasted. Sludge Bomb, Energy Ball, and Synthesis to regain health when you start getting low and really dwindling. That's what I recommend for the offensive set. Energy Ball is great because it's stab, and same thing with Sludge Bomb. You know, it's unfortunate that it has 4 weaknesses. That tends to happen with dual-type Pokemon. You know, they get a good range of different attacks to use that normally they wouldn't if they were a single monotype, but they do give way to a whole lot more weaknesses than they would have had. It's still good because, like I said, the 3 main weaknesses can be combated with Rock Hidden Power. And Synthesis you may want to swap out with one of the additional moves below, being Giga Drain or Ingrain. Giga Drain, I think, if I do recall, is a special move, and Ingrain will just regain health over the course of the match each turn. It's up to you whether you want to be more direct with how you gain hit points or indirect. Ingrain, obviously the more indirect way to go because you just get a little bit of nutrition from the soil each turn, and that's the same thing with leftovers. Again, that's your choice. I'm not going to shove it down your throat, the dictations of how to use Life Orb or leftovers. You know that if you want stronger moves, go with Life Orb. It comes at a cost though, taking away some of your health. Leftovers is the more safe defensive item to use, and it will keep regenerating health for you. It won't give you any sort of stat boost on attacks, but since this particular set is already maxed out in special attack, it doesn't really need it. So it's all up to you how you want to play this Amoonguss. It's pretty workable in your different strategic modes. It can be a defensive HP hoarding wall, it can be a tricky supporter that poisons your foes, and it does have this great swappability of switching the attack and special attack EVs to max out its potential in being a physical juggernaut. Finally, let's take a look at set 3. Here, as I mentioned before, we're just switching around what we're maxing out. Instead of special attack, we're going to max out attack. Instead of modest nature, we're going to go adamant so that we get the bonus regular affinity to its nature, boosting our attack and degenerating special attack. But with these sets, obviously you won't have a single special attack on it. And let's look towards the moves, because that's really the only major thing that's changed with this set. Seed Bomb is, to note, a black 2 and white 2 tutor move only, unless I missed it in its potential learned moves naturally, but as far as I saw, it is only obtainable in black 2 and white 2. So sorry everyone who's only playing black and white, maybe you could trade with your friend once the sequels come out, but Seed Bomb is only done through Move Tutor, sorry. Return I decided to include instead of Body Slam, although Body Slam is still useful in case you want to have the chance to paralyze your opponents. Return is more powerful, however, being able to max out at a base power of 102 when you max out its friendliness. And if you want to go the antithesis route of that, give it frustration and then piss off your Amoonguss as much as possible so that it diabolically hates you, and it will equally have that same base power of 102. Feint Attack is a good dark type move, plus it's physical, and if you want to, if you have black 2 and white 2, or if you can trade for it, you can also teach Amoonguss Foul Play. Foul Play is interesting because it's a lot more strong than Feint Attack, but it can be weakened if your opponent that you're striking does not have a high attack stat. So ideally you only want to use Foul Play when you're coming across an opponent that is physically built up. If you know that Pokemon to be advantageous for physical attack, then you might want to use Foul Play, because the stronger their attack, their physical attack, the stronger your Foul Play will strike. And Ingrain, of course, the same concept as we saw on set 2, just to continue to boost up health across the match. So let me know what you think of these 3 Amoonguss sets. It was interesting working with this Pokemon because although it had limited moves, it did not have a large move pool to choose from. A lot of repeat type moves like Solar Beam, Energy Ball, Grass Knot, those types of things that it's up to you if you want to use, and really up to your team, because I would recommend using Solar Beam only if you have a Sunny Day team, but since I can't assume most of you will go with that, I went with the more general set that you saw before. So let me know. This was a really fun Pokemon to take a look at. Have you used any of these before? Have you used maybe the first shitty set that I presented to you in the beginning? I really want to know if that one works out well, but just from my mental experiments, I can already see it working out awfully. So I am DiogenZ. Do subscribe to Planet Poke for more Pokemon content like this and others, such as walkthroughs, unboxings, and more. And I will catch you next week. Oh, if you'd like to be included in this series, do leave a video response of what next week's Pokemon of the Week will be in battle, and you will be included and have a shout out.